Hello there, good evening and welcome along to Business Today. I'm Joram Paul Sonko. It's a cold one and we're coming to you live from Plot 42 Nile Avenue. With us, let's have a look at our top stories.
In Business Today, Parliamentary Committee on Finance holds government over unfunded projects as such are blamed for accumulating collateral debts. 312 circles victimized by fraud and poor governance. According to the Profida report, actors advocate for strict laws to support management and funding. And agricultural credit facility avails over 751 billion shillings to smallholder farmers as revised guidelines attract uptake.
All right, now let's get right onto it as we start with the funding of budget priorities. The Parliamentary Committee on Finance has faulted government over unfunded projects which they believe carry collateral debts. One reason for the runaway debt stock, as according to the committee members, have further requested the Ministry of Finance to return to Parliament with respective stakeholders regarding the Lubowa Specialized Hospital, one of the many stalling projects. Samla Hanifa has details.
While presenting the 16.7 trillion budget for unfunded priorities in the financial year 2023-2024, officials from the Finance Ministry have informed the Finance Committee about the need for the money to cater for among the many reparations to the Republic of Congo amounting 248 billion shillings, Lubowa promissory notes at 228 billion shillings, and central bank charges at 151 billion shillings, plus others. MPs, on the other hand, tasked Ministry of Finance to explain why it skipped certain items despite continuous interest occurred upon them.
When it comes to promissory notes, when it comes to the bills of exchanges, the court orders, really I would think that these are not items that would be left out for because we are not yet balancing. You would rather go on other budgets and cut on, you would have rather have, reduced on, say, non-wage. I'm seeing the entities coming up with calendars, I hear brochures, I hear, clothing, beddings. Those are where you would have left them for corrigenda, where along the way. But these ones here, really, why are you putting Parliament at a corner?
In his response, Minister Musasizi told legislators that it is impossible to achieve everything with the limited resource envelope and that government is committed to reduce the country's debt, promising that henceforth government will only borrow amounts within the budget range.
I said earlier, it is not possible to achieve everything in this limited resource envelope. This discretionary resource of 24, whereby about over 7 trillion is going for wage item, just one like this. Some things may not find space in this constrained resource envelope as we want them to be. Mr. Chairman, we are not reducing debt per se. We are saying let's borrow within the budget. What we have budgeted for should be what we borrow. We have been even borrowing beyond what we have provided for in the estimates. But now going forward, we are saying the borrowing should be consistent. No borrowing outside the budget.
In regard to the contentious Lubowa Hospital, MPs requested the Ministry of Finance to provide accountability for the project, which they say keeps on accumulating a debt burden despite lack of progress at the site.
There is a new agreement that you signed concerning Lubowa Specialized Hospital, and part of the key issues that are being talked about in this agreement, you're reducing the scope of the work that Pinet is supposed to do, Finesse Construction. You're reducing the work they are supposed to do, and you're increasing the money that is supposed to actually be paid to them. So do you think that is fair to this nation? This is an agreement that was signed. I've seen the PS, Ramadan Ngobi, and Pineti signed it, and Ministry of Health. So perhaps you can clarify on that, because the initial agreement at the start was $345 million. Later it switched to $366 million, and according to this agreement, still you're increasing the money to $379.7 million.
We as a committee visited Lubowa, and there was actually very little going on there. With the minister, yes, with the minister, and there was very little progress being made. And yet, this is a matter that has been taken underground, and I know for sure, Honorable Minister, this will come in a supplementary somewhere immediately after the appropriation.
Yes,
now, and the same thing is with the ROCO. It's the same thing which is true with the debt to Congo. So you guys would rather come up front with this thing. Let Parliament make a pronouncement on it, and so that we can move forward together. This thing of tinkering with the appropriation and undermining the responsibility of Parliament will not work. And these are things that maybe some people cannot say it, but we need to say it here.
According to Honorable Mwanga Chivumbi, government should stop manipulating figures of unfunded priorities, citing mismatch. He says officials from the Treasury operations have not done enough to help reduce the country's debt as the national budget maintains a steady growth.
Securities. When you look at debt redemption by 1819, what was it? It was 4. As we speak now, you have accumulated a debt you can't pay, and you have no formula on how to pay. It has gone to almost 8. So every year, this is an account, and when you look at interest, look at the interest rise on interest, on interest and how they have been rising. Loan interest. By 1819, we are paying an interest just a mere 424. Okay? Now, this financial year, loan interest is going to be 870. When you look at the trend on every parameter in the last 5 years, it's alarming, and you are going not only you, but for you are going deeper into the abyss. We want to ask you, you are land friends in these matters, we are not. Really, is any of you proud for this trend of our national economy? Because what amazes me is that when I look at our revenue generally, they've been increasing. By 2018, our budget was below 20 trillion. Now, I mean tax collection was below 20 trillion. It was like 18, 19, if I don't have the right figures here. Today, you are projecting to collect 28 trillion. You are making no attempt to redeem this debt rollover that is hemorrhaging a country. But for every year, all what you do is to justify more luxurious expenditures. So, are you in any way, my friends in this department, helping this government by this behavior?
In retaliation, the Finance Ministry has asked for more time to come return jointly with the Ministry of Health and Lubowa Specialized Hospital staff to provide accountability. Uganda's debt stock current sits at 86 trillion shillings, with big allocations tended towards non-self-financing projects. Samlanifa, Smart 24 TV, Business Today.
All right, now elsewhere we talk matters upholding savings and cooperative societies. Now, the savings and credit cooperative organizations have often been relied on as alternative to commercial banks in funding development projects. Meanwhile, this has been undermined by fraud and poor governance, which has prompted finance professionals to echo the need for equitable management. Pedison Mombere reports.
According to 2021 research by the Program for Financial Inclusion in Rural Areas, PROFIRA, 64 out of the 453 registered SACCOs in Uganda have already collapsed, while 312 SACCOs are victims of fraud and bad governance. Nicholas Mushaventa from CPS SACCO says there should be a setup of policies and regulations to curb the vice while creating avenues for recovering the money lost to fraud.
One of the most critical aspects they need to consider is to come up with specific laws and regulations in addition to the normal bylaws that are normally provided by the cooperatives registrar. Whenever you register, they give you the regulations, but those regulations are general. They do not go to the details. Like that part I've indicated that you as the SACCO members have a mandate to summon someone or to do some of the specific measures on how to recover the money.
SACCOs are largely binding group with tenants of cooperative financial institutions where members can save money and access loans with the aim of alleviating poverty. Some SACCOs funds have either been embezzled or not accounted for, yet the repayment rate of the members is poor. CPM member Sophie Chomhendo attributed this to lack of professionalism.
I think it's lack of professionalism in these SACCOs, who are the kind of people that we end up managing the SACCOs, who are leading. You find SACCOs whereby they think because Mr. X is having the biggest savings, the biggest, should be our chairperson. But how much can he bring? Yes, he has the resources. For us in our SACCO, we don't look at because so and so has this much, so you should lead. We look at the competences of this person. What is the experience of this person? Is this person a critical thinker? Is this person able to organize the team? Is this person able to listen to the professionals when they give their advice? Because that is where the problems come in.
Sophie notes that SACCOs are often the only providers of financial services for most people in the remote areas, so their collapse would leave such people with little or no alternative services, which leads to loss of their mega savings.
My advice would be that SACCOs, if they do not have technical or professional people on board, they can outsource people to help them run the affairs of the SACCO, and they make a small pay. It's better to pay something than lose everything. So they also have an option of outsourcing technical people, technocrats, to help them run the SACCO, and they should listen to them. It should not be a game of manipulating.
Advice I would give is to ensure that as they trying to get leaders amongst themselves, they be truthful to themselves, knowing that they know people whom they are going to put in the leadership positions, the people whom they believe that actually they have never been engaged in fraudulent activities, or they would believe that such people, at least from the ethical perspective, they are good people. Then
reports show that we should care about the existence of SACCOs because their collapse has far-reaching consequences on the people's savings and businesses. As a country, the attainment of the Millennium Development Goals and the objectives of the National Development Plan can be achieved through provision of secure and consistent financial services to all people, especially the poor in the rural areas. Pedson Mombere, Smart 24 TV, Business Today.
Meanwhile, now the Bank of Uganda has called upon farmers to take advantage of the agriculture credit facility that was set up to stimulate agriculture through primarily targeting high-end agricultural production in the country. Small and medium-sized enterprises have still been encouraged to exploit the provision of sustainable growth and production for this matter. Martha Nimsima has more.
According to a study conducted by the World Bank, the development of agriculture credit facilities can increase the income of SMEs in the agriculture sector by up to 25%. This is made possible through enhancing availability of market information, credit, logistics, and processing facilities. These agriculture credit facilities can help SMEs increase their productivity while fostering profits. They also link smallholder farmers to larger agribusinesses, which promote inclusive growth and reduce poverty in rural areas.
Participating financial institutions have registered success by lending up to 751 billion to 2,970 beneficiaries, including large off-takers that create jobs and market for smallholder farmers. Funds under the agricultural credit facility have been disbursed for acquisition of agricultural machinery to increase farm production and productivity, acquisition of processing machinery for value addition, and infrastructure for post-harvest handling such as silos, warehouses, as well as cold storage facilities for perishable agricultural produce.
Policymakers and development agencies have prioritized the development of the small-medium enterprises' access to finance through implementing various measures like credit guarantee scheme, which provide a partial or full guarantee to lenders, a practice that minimizes the cost of borrowing for SMEs.
Bank of Uganda has made sure businesses get these funds through easing the requirements and educating traders on the possible benefits.
Agriculture credit facilities also enable the efficiency of agricultural supplies by reducing transaction costs, improving market information, and increasing the quality of products. This in turn can lead to better market access for SMEs, thereby increasing their bargaining power and increasing their competitiveness.
Finance under the ACF has increased with 118 billion, extended 1,754 beneficiaries just under this block allocation. This implies that 59% of the total ACF beneficiaries are medium and small enterprises. The low uptake of the SBRF, on the other hand, is of concern, and yet business community still grapples with the effects of the COVID-19 pandemic.
Various amendments made to the operation guidelines of the agriculture credit facilities have increased uptake and benefit. The streamlining of procedures, expansion of coverage, access to finance, and market information have enabled SMEs to participate more effectively in the international markets, contributing to poverty reduction, food security, and environmental sustainability. Martin Msima, Smart 24 TV, Business Today.
Moving on though, Goody Leisure Farm, a social enterprise, has with backing from government undertaken the initiative to transform agriculture in Lango sub-region. Over 800 million shillings in loan have been advanced as a monthly interest of 0.5% for youth to grow their businesses by exploiting the robust agricultural value chain with initiative on white meat. We have more with Naomi Mutumba.
Livestock production still remains one of the growing agriculture units, amplified by different projects such as the Meat Export Support Services by the Agriculture Ministry. Lango sub-region, which boasts of a rich pastoral culture, has been boosted with over 800 million in loan to anchor an initiative for the white meat value chain, a growing subsector. Projections envision improvement of poor rural livelihoods dominated by the youth.
Government has made a lot of investments in Lango in terms of building the infrastructure for development and transformation. And we just need a trigger. Lango has over 70% youth. It's a very youthful sub-region. So we need to harness their efforts, harness their ideas, so that we can transform our community. About investment opportunities, it is really wide, especially in agriculture. Value chain production. You know, you need to develop the value chain in agriculture. We have the producers, you have people who are marketing, you have people who are adding value.
Base, we have over 9,600 youth that are within our network and working within our value chain. Our youth already have products that they can sell on any market shelf in the world. Today at the Cottage Show, you will see the products they have made. They are taking the region to the next level. I'll give you an example. The youth came in here for training and said, we can grow vegetables all throughout the year. We said, okay, what do? They said, we want to add value to the vegetables.
Northern Uganda, one of the most endangered regions in regard to food insecurity that responds to semi-aridity and climate change, is yet to effectively benefit from transitional developments. Dr. Agnes Atim Apea, the woman MP for Amalata district, informs that government, through private-public partnerships, has forged means with the private sector to develop the entire agriculture value chain.
After the flood, we shall see very, very big droughts again. So the food insecurity, besides the potential and the land and the people and the economic activity of agriculture, we are still really limited in the aspect of irrigation to make some of these activities go year in, year out. And so rice was affected in that way, that yes, when there's much rain like this, we are able to get some good harvest. But when there is no rain, then the production goes down.
According to Daniel Ojambo, a private sector foundation official, the sector has so far created 3,000 jobs for those 18 to 25 years through market system development, a provision for transformation into the middle income status. Over 300,000 shillings from farm-related work is the target earning for youth per month.
Allow other people to crowd in. In the opening up, we're asking them to use two models. One is a market systems development, where the big company that has a market decides to continue trading and then reach its close to its installed capacity. As it's opening up, it's sourcing raw materials. Raw materials coming from our young people. They supply you soya, they supply you sunflower, maize, and these things that a company, a factory requires to process. So when it does that, then more people crowd in and they get employed. The jobs in there have to be decent. A young person, in our aspiration, we need that young person in the Lango sub-region to earn close to 300,000 shillings per month.
Additionally, the government has been tasked to undo trade obstacles, involve and assist youth in the agricultural value chain quest.
Well enough, let the investors know where exactly to invest. Let the investment environment be appropriate. I know, Honorable, you're working on matters taxation in Parliament. We need to ensure that the taxation does not stifle the prospects of these businesses to grow. The trade barriers, just recently, our Kenyan neighbors were stopping milk from crossing. So we need to ensure that we have good relationships across the borders and we get trade flowing freely.
The 800,000 million funding comes with a monthly interest of just 0.5% to provide youth with assistance across the entire value chain development. This in part represents commitment to shift from subsistence to commercial production and address poverty, where 25.29 million are threatened. Naomi Mtumba, Smart 24 TV, Business Today.
Reports after the break. Smart 24, driving business.
Mbuto, the taste of Uganda in a new international park.
He must be rich, tall, handsome, from a respectable family. He must have a maid because at our home we do not work.
Conductor Masao.
What? Obadde olobye ku simu?
Yamunange anti yo TV enkolera.
Nyumira omulembe omupya ogujjudde ebisanyusa omuli emikutu gya TV egisukka mu 8 n'egya radio nga kwotadde ne zifirimu ng'osinziirira wonna w'oli. Genda mu App Store oteeke app ya TV channels ku simu yo olwo onyumirwe ennaku 3 ng'olabira bwereere ewatali kukozesa data.
Yo TV channels.
24, Driving Business. I'll be back from the break. You're still watching Business Today. Now, we talk matters shifting to clean energy. Uganda National Alliance on Clean Cooking, together with the government and the private sector, are on course to realize clean energy utilization through new technology uptake. Currently, 70% of urban dwellers have access to electricity, and surprising, just 2% can use it for cooking, as reliance still remains on charcoal and other biofuels. We have more in this report.
In December 2021, the Electricity Regulatory Authority introduced a cooking tariff under the declining block tariff structure to offer access to affordable electricity for domestic consumption. The move, where consumers pay 412 shillings within ERA's approved threshold, focuses on displacing reliance on charcoal and other biofuels. The National Alliance on Clean Cooking Energy has thus exploited the strategy and pushed for clean energy utilization amid its efforts to limit greenhouse gases.
Ugandan shillings, you can cook with an electric pressure cooker throughout the whole day from Monday to Monday for the whole month. Unlike when you're using charcoal, you can buy 2 sacks of charcoal in a month, and every half sack of charcoal is 70 to 80,000 shillings, meaning someone can incur the cost of 160,000 shillings a month to cook, only to cook. That is so expensive.
New technologies such as electric pressure cookers, biogas and solar, ethanol utilization among others have been rolled out for use. Reliance on charcoal and other biofuels has propelled deforestation, a detriment to climate protection, despite initiatives such as investment in forests and protected areas for climate-smart development.
This is ethanol. So the way we use ethanol, we open the biofuel stove. Here it's where we put our ethanol, but you make sure after putting the ethanol within it, you put the stove on before you light.
That in Uganda, around 89 to 90 people still use the solid biomass technology that is using charcoal and fire for cooking.
Currently, consumers under 100 units per month qualify for the lifeline tariff of 250 shillings as per threshold, and extra payments beyond 100 units, making equally expensive.
That 70% of the urban people or people living in Kampala are all connected to the grid or they use electricity, but unfortunately it's only 1 to 2% of that the people in Kampala that use electric pressure cooker. Why? Because people are not aware of the benefits, the environmental and health benefits of using the pressure cookers, and that's why they do not use them. People have wrong perceptions that pressure cookers are very expensive, which is not really true, much as the upfront cost is really high. But in the long run, the pressure cookers are not so expensive.
According to Uganda Bureau of Statistics 2021 report, 73% of Ugandan households rely primarily on biogas, while 21% use charcoal for cooking and 0.6% kerosene. With a population expected to double by 2050, intensive charcoal utilization is bound to deplete forest cover, thus the need to invest in energy-efficient technologies and clean energy practice. Naomi Mtumba, Smart 24 TV, Business Today.
All right, now we put our focus on unpacking corruption tendencies in the country. Uganda, like many other African states, is grappling with a growing debt stock. If you look at the key findings behind it, we are currently seated at a debt of 86 trillion shillings. And besides that, this has actually got corruption as a big factor in administration, taxation, and the other extractives. Rona Nahabwe apparently managed to link up with the Member of Parliament for Ntungamo, Honorable Yona Musinguzi, for an insight from a leader's perspective to look at how best can we fight corruption.
Thank you, Sonko, and good evening to you, our dear viewers who are tuned into Smart 24 TV and watching Business Today. I'm Rona Nahabwe, and with me is the Honorable Yona Musinguzi, who is also a Member of Parliament for Tungamo Municipality. Now, we have lost, or recent reports indicate that Uganda loses about 20 trillion shillings annually. And he also mentioned in his speech that one hour, 1 million is lost to corruption. That is downright poverty. Now, with me is, like I mentioned, Honorable Yona Musinguzi. He's going to help us insight or give us a bigger insight on how deep Uganda is deep into this corruption agenda. Thank you, and say hello to our viewers.
Hello everyone, my name is Yona, Member of Parliament for Ntungamo Municipality. I'm happy for my sister to host me here on this TV, and I'm privileged to talk about the corruption, the greed, nepotism in Uganda.
Thank you. Now, I want us to move or set the momentum to how the youth, most of the people that were here at PPDA Towers were the youth or young people. They are really being empowered. We have seen how they have been awarded in various, genres on how they are empowered to move forward this corruption propaganda. Why do you think they're targeting the youth?
I think the target for youth to join the crusade against corruption has been long awaited. It should have started the other day, if not today. Because as we grow up, there is a saying which says charity begins at home. And I know the values we instill in these children today when they take up the responsibilities, because corruption is done by human beings who have not been nurtured. So I want to thank the organizers of the event today, NDC, for having targeted the right group of people, instilling and impacting to the fight against corruption to schools. Actually, teaching Kiswahili is okay in a school, but also there should be a curriculum to teach children the fight against corruption, to teach children morals and values when they take up responsibilities, let it be in private or in government, because corruption, the IGG, has said it's not only in government, even in private offices. And these are the people you have taught mathematics, taught chemistry, taught biology, and have left them to go to the public to work in government offices. What will they do? They will think it is a norm to be corrupt. But this is the right place to teach these people when they are still at school. And we have empowered them. I know they were amazing. They had amazing pieces. They had a lot of poems against a corrupt officer, against corruption. They were crying. One of them told us how he lost the mom to a doctor asking them money when the mom was bleeding. And these are poor people who didn't have the money, and she lost the mom. She had a poem. You found me shedding tears. I was tearing off. I was emotional about her speech. So I want to encourage every Ugandan, if I may sum it up, what we have come out with this, because we had the Auditor General, we had the State House Anti-Corruption Unit, we had the IGG, my friend Honorable Bet Kamya, and we challenged them about lifestyle audit. Yes, someone is earning 1 million shillings per month, but someone has 10,000 heads of cattle. He has how many square miles in Chibare, in Ntungamo, in Karamoja? He has how many mansions in the suburbs of Kampala? He even has buildings in the middle of town here. Where does he get money from? So we all agreed we should anonymously support the IGG on lifestyle audit. How do you live? You have seen people splashing money like this, dollars, and they are public officers. That is our money.
We have seen most of the politicians or these people that are passionate about corruption move agendas, but their lives have been threatened. So I'd like to know what drives your passion. When did you decide to start fighting corruption? This crusade must be fought. I need to know. I need to see results in regards to corruption. What inspired you, and what drives your passion for the fight?
Beginning a crusade, you can begin it alone, individually. But I want to assure you, when you have a right cause, the masses will join you. The fight against corruption, we all know, when we see government government suffocating on service delivery. I want to show in Uganda here we have people who are richer than the government infrastructure. Someone owning more money than the budget that can run this government for 2 years. Where has he gotten the money from? And again, these people have not been told that amassing too much barbaric wealth is also being barbaric yourself. Because now, their money has become their slaves. They have no time to enjoy their money, the little money they have spent. Someone, he has to have how many escorts escort him? Going in a toilet, he has a gun. Going in a church, there is a gun outside him. Going everywhere, even in a bar, he has a gun escorting him. Why? Because he knows he has amassed this wealth through dubious means. He has stolen the government. And we are saying we need to make life hard for corrupt officers. We have actually agreed that these people, even in church, they should not be given the first chairs in front. Pastors, when you know someone has been convicted of corruption, don't accept his offertory. Make corruption very risky for anyone to trade in. But when you just give them good names, they are mafias, they enjoy that comfort, and corruption will thrive. Anyone who comes up to get that office, he will want to be like the one who has left. But we should make it very hard for anyone to be corrupt.
Do you think the law has been efficient enough? One of the key speakers there made used an example of China. If one is a simple allegation that you are corrupt, the procedure, the court sessions, they are so enduring that you might even commit suicide. Do you think if such laws, are equipped and are installed in Uganda, and Ugandans know that if I take a bribe, even if it's just for 100,000, I will be convicted like this?
By the way, for the law, I want to thank Parliament. For the laws, we have made laws. This country has laws. But I think there is a challenge somehow, somewhere. If all these laws were implemented to the letter, I don't think we could be having any issue in Uganda here. Because we have the best registration. Actually, many countries in Africa come and benchmark from Parliament here. But the implementation and the goodwill generally is not the best, I want to say.
What would you recommend as someone who is passionate about corruption and its fight, and you really want to do away, because we have lost 20 trillion shillings is a lot with the kind of debt we have.
Today,
if we are losing that yearly.
Yes, I've told you my research, and it's very true. I've told you, as we sit today here now, if there are 50 transactions in government authorities and ministries, you should know that 25 of those transactions are not for the good of this country. 25 is for those people who are making the transactions, and 25 for us. But one murderer like this, if you kill someone, God forbid, I know you cannot kill, but if you kill someone, you are committed to death sentence. And a corrupt officer today is committed to 5 years, simple exercise, cleaning the compound, and he's left spots free. But you, a murderer who has killed one person, you are even better than someone who has stolen 100 million for the road that was supposed to go to Ntungamo. Because that road, if it's not made, how many border people will die on that road? Thousands of them. You who has killed one person, you have been convicted to be killed also. So I would think any corrupt officer should also be murdered, because you are murderers.
I would like to pause you right there. They also suggested something that has to do with the fund. We have seen how young people are ambitious about this fight, and of course there is need. We cannot run away from it. There is need for them to be empowered, because if they come up, because the youth constitute 70% of the population. We are the future generation. So they suggested something about a fund, and then they suggested you maybe could be in position to move it forward and get all the support that is needed for these young people to be empowered and continue to pass on this message. Even far from us, the media, but them, the young people, maybe they could be recognized as a stronger force. What do you think we should expect from that?
I would definitely support that fund, because today we have a Whistleblowers Act. In the Whistleblowers Act, it empowers the IGG. If someone has brought information and she executes and some money is recovered, this person should be given some money. But it should go beyond that. It should go beyond that. We need that fund. The fund to teach the youth on how to have ethical morals. The fund for them to join the crusade. Because they are back in the villages where this implementation of these projects where they are stealing money are taking place. A fund for them to have a stature in the state, have accountability. So I would really support the fund.
Thank you. Your parting remarks?
I call upon all Ugandans, let's go back to the cultural way how we used to do it. Corruption is killing this nation. Corruption, nepotism, greed is a dangerous war that we all need to come and join our hands together.
Tribalism?
Tribalism, of course. Nepotism and tribalism are all go together. Let's all join our hands. Let's develop our country and make it very hard for any corrupt officer. Never shake hands with them. Make for them an alarm. Ashame them. They will stop stealing our money.
Strong conversations there, of course, from he himself, Honorable Yona Musinguzi, the MP from Tungamo District. I'm very glad to have brought you this conversation. Back to you in studio. Thank you.
All right, many thanks for that particular one, Rona Nahabwe. Now we turn our eyes to Kenya, as Kenya has now tested an easy Monday after a fortnight of Mondays having protests. Nairobi and other cities have today tested an ease of tension as demonstrations inspired by high commodity prices, food scarcity and political tension were called off following President William Ruto's appeal to Parliament to address the conflict. We have more in this report.
Raila Odinga, the leader of the Kenyan opposition, has called off the planned protests and is readying himself for negotiations with the government. Resulted in at least 3 deaths, 400 injuries and looting of some businesses over the last 2 weeks. The protests were allegedly against the high cost of living and alleged fraud in the 2022 elections. Mr. Odinga has accused the government of failing to address the economic hardships of ordinary Kenyans in the elections. President William Ruto appealed to Odinga to call off the protests and engage in talks with the government to address the issues facing the country. In a statement, Ruto expressed his commitment to resolving the issues raised by the opposition and called for peaceful dialogue.
Our country's image and history in the League of Modern Nations has been at stake in the last 2 weeks. The country's economy has been hit hard at a time when my administration is doing everything possible to salvage the economy from the deep hole where we found it. My administration has instituted solid measures and policies to attract investors and through their investment create opportunities for millions of our young people to realize their potential, amongst many of the other issues that we are doing as government. We cannot, ladies and gentlemen, we cannot allow these efforts to be derailed by acts of violence, chaos, and anarchy. I urge my brother Raila Odinga and the opposition to call off the demonstrations and to give this bipartisan approach a chance for us to take the country forward. Meanwhile, I call on all Kenyans to remain peaceful and law-abiding, and I assure them that the government of Kenya will continue with its sacred duty of protecting their lives and their property, including their businesses.
Odinga, in response, said that he was willing to engage in talks and called off the protest to give dialogue a chance. He urged his supporters to remain calm and peaceful as the opposition engages in talks with the government.
In view of the foregoing, we stand down our demonstrations for Monday, that is tomorrow, April 3rd, 2023. 6. But in doing so, we want to emphasize that the right to assemble, to demonstrate, petition, and speak are ironclad as provided for in our Constitution. 7, therefore, we reserve our rights to call for demonstrations should this process not bear fruit. Should there be no meaningful engagement or response from Hon Ruto to our counter-offer, we resolve to resume our demonstrations after 1 week.
The decision by Odinga to call off the protests has been welcomed by Kenyan business community who have been concerned about the violence and disruptions caused by the demonstrations. The government has also welcomed the move and expressed its commitment to engaging in talks with the opposition to find a peaceful resolution to the issues facing the country.
All right, now in sport this evening, last week we showed you just how neglected the sports sector is as government was tasked to account for the stalling infrastructure development such as the Nambole, despite billions disbursed. Now, Minister of Development challenges the private sector has undertaken moves to reshape sports with opportunities explored through consortiums. Dre is just one of those proposing market access to quality assurance and free and affordable advisory services, including finance, procurement, and others.
Globally, the sport is financed and run by the private sector. Government only comes on board to support for flying the national flags. Dre is here to provide a business platform for the different partners that will be coming on board to do intra-business, whereby whoever will be part of the consortium as a partner, they will be offering their services at very competitive and custom terms to the other partners, but in return also receive the same. The partners on board will be cutting across all the sectors of the economy, from manufacturing, finance, trade, and everyone, because all these partners, all several players from all these sectors are actually interested in supporting.
All right, as we now conclude business today, we take a recap of our top stories.
In business today, Parliamentary Committee on Finance holds government over unfunded projects as such are blamed for accumulating collateral debts. 312 circles victimized by fraud and poor governance. According to the Profila report, actors advocate for strict laws to support management and planning. And agricultural credit facility avails over 751 billion shillings to smallholder farmers as revised guidelines attract uptake.
Of course, it is not that a friendly kind of weather this evening in the country, and of course for the people who are actually working within Kampala, you get to realize the traffic jam is at its most, and it's at a peak where you would definitely wish to be home quite early. But anyways, continue watching Smart Means Smart 24 TV, as we shall be giving you more details regarding business. I'm Jerome Paul Sonko, and as we continue to give you more, stick around. Channel 394 on Go TV, Channel 372 on DSTV. From the entire newsroom, production and the editorial, we wish you a blessed night and a good evening.